Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. My name is Jules Gill and we are here inside a real dungeon in Lucca to celebrate Lucca Comics and Games 2019, and I'm here with an adventure designer of such legendary proportions that he needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. It's Bill Benham. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you enjoying the event so far?
This has been an amazing event. The fact that we're doing Dungeons and Dragons in a literal dungeon, absolutely fantastic.
I'm kind of glad that there isn't any real dragons, otherwise I feel like the potential for return for 2020 might be down if half of the people get eaten.
It would, yeah, I think it would probably diminish the odds of somebody coming back to
or maybe the excitability. You can't really tell with something like that, can you?
It's a roll of the dice, right?
Indeed. And speaking of rolling the dice, everyone always asks me when starting out a D&D campaign, how do you actually start? Because you can get your friends together, you can sit down, but obviously creating an adventure, which is something that your role exclusively sort of works with, and a producer and writer for Dungeons and Dragons. Where do you begin with what's the chrysalis for your ideas? Do you start with a location in mind, a creature, or a prize? What's your sort of like work ethic, as it were?
That is a fascinating question. So the person that that I would look to for like kind of the epitome of how to put an adventure together is Mr. Chris Perkins, and he's the lead story designer. So in most cases, I'm taking all the ingredients that he's putting together to make sure the book can actually get out on time. So Chris, it varies based on what the needs of the party are. So let's say you have a younger group, you might want to focus it on an item that they can find. Otherwise, I tend to kind of go for what kind of theme do I want? All right, well, I want, say, a horror theme. Then how can I build to that to make something kind of entertaining and fun that the party can connect with? So a lot of it comes down to really knowing your players.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you've got years and years of experience with this as well. Like, you know the books inside and out. You basically gestated so many good ideas that have been put into the current edition, because obviously we've got Descent into Avarice that's just come out as well. How are you finding the players' reaction to that? Like, watching people get really stuck into it, going to hell.
It's been tremendously positive, and it's actually, you bring up kind of a good point, which is if I'm looking to create an adventure, I don't necessarily have to feel pressure to come up with something whole cloth when I can look at, say, Descent into Avarice. Well, do I want like kind of a wild, kind of Mad Max-y style, like we were talking about, romp through hell, which to me is super appealing. You could go that route, or if you wanted something a little bit more kind of sandboxy and grounded, something like Storm King's Thunder, where you're in the Forgotten Realms, and it's fantastical, but not as fantastical as riding around in hell on, a cobbled together infernal war machine.
When I watched you guys play live in the church yesterday, the first sentences out of your mouth were there was like a witch hag, and then she was telling you about infernal war machines, and then you were getting people to get all of their demon goats with the sidecars, and I'm just sitting there just going like, did I drop something before? It seems to be one of those amazing storylines that allows people to really flex their creative muscles, and that must be very rewarding for you, because that's obviously what you want people to do, right?
So what's fascinating about with the demon goat, for example, so the original idea that I had was I didn't know if everybody in the party could fly. They needed to be able to fly to kind of do the adventure. So Mad Maggie, the hag that we talked about, offered them a nightmare to use as a steed. So Richard, apropos of nothing, Richard Witters, one of our senior art directors and a fantastic person and artist, he sat down and said, oh, well, I want it to be a goat. So in that kind of calculus right there in the moment was like, yeah, I think that would totally work. Also, it's too small, so let's put like an iron sidecar on the side. So just kind of riffing on the moment.
That must be something that you really need to sort of get to grips with quite quickly. Because obviously party members, they're not going to do everything that you have planned out. Yeah, they might want to go off the beat, but I can tell from that laugh that you've experienced this many times.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what would be one of the weirdest things that the party members have tried to do that you've just been like, oh my goodness?
Man, I had all these ideas, and then you asked, and they all shot right on my head. No, that's fine. It's my fault. I would say what it usually is I'll have, let's say someone needs to get inside a secure location. It could be like, all right, well, most people, like if you're thinking in adventure design, it's like, oh, well, they could pick the lock. They could try and batter the door down. They could go find someone and like steal a key if that's an option.
Yeah.
Like here's what I would go through. And then players are like, oh no, we're gonna take this thing and we're gonna disintegrate a hole in the wall and it just turns into this Rube Goldberg weird ass thing. So you have to be prepared to account for that. How I do that is the adventure that I ran yesterday. So for 2 hours, that was 6 sentences.
Really?
And some stat blocks, yes. So I knew broadly what I wanted to do. I wanted to start with Mad Maggie. I wanted to have them flying around and fighting in front of the Flying Fortress. I wanted them in the Flying Fortress, and I wanted the Flying Fortress to crash.
That's outstanding.
There you go. So whatever else happens in there, it's like what... were you there for the T-Rexes? There were T-Rexes, by the way.
The end, I heard that everyone the T-Rex got munched and destroyed and things like that.
Yes. So the room, as I originally envisioned it, was not big enough to accommodate a pair of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Who would have, the architect probably just didn't have that consideration.
True. But when that was Joe was like, oh yeah, I'm going to turn them both into Tyrannosaurus Rexes. 2 options. Oh no, the room's too small. And then kind of kill that creativity.
Yeah.
Or I've never drawn the room out, so the room's big enough to accommodate you two because that's way more awesome than what I thought was going to happen.
So one of your sort of like key tips therefore would be try not to overthink things, but just have confidence in your own ability to tell a story.
Yes, and allow the players to help, because you're helping them tell their story. You're facilitating that. So rather than trying to, I'm going to use the word precious, getting precious about your adventure, if they're going in a direction that's fun and they're enjoying it and it's not... It's not unsafe or disrespectful to someone else at the table, then,
go for it.
Then work with it.
I mean, watching you guys on that stage, it's clear that there's like a real level of fun and performative quality that comes into that. Like, how have you found, obviously, the rise in technology and the way that the game is now moving away from being sort of pen and paper in somebody's house to online? Are you finding that that's having a direct effect on that, or are you finding that it's just more inclusive than ever?
I would say it is definitely more inclusive than ever. Like with the rise of Critical Role or High Rollers, like all these shows, they serve as a great entry point to folks who ordinarily maybe they're not going to go in a hobby shop or they wouldn't have seen D&D otherwise, and it allows them to experience and enjoy the game, get a feel for it, and then go, oh, well, I'm going to do this for myself now. And they don't have to go online and do it that way. But I will tell you, the game that I play most frequently is on Fantasy Grounds.
Oh, so you've got a group that's split around the country then, or abroad?
Actually, around the world. So
that's fantastic.
2 people in Chicago, 1 in Florida, 3 in Washington State, 1 in New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have this whole big crew, and one person, the guy in Florida used to be in... he used to live in Germany, actually.
So even further abroad, then.
Exactly. So, but we find a time on the weekend that works for everybody, and we all get to sit down and play. And with the use of like Discord, especially.
Oh, it definitely helps so much.
It's huge. Like you probably remember TeamSpeak.
Yeah. Oh man, back in the day.
Well, kids, there was a thing called TeamSpeak, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't.
And most of the time, it didn't for me because I had bad internet back then. I was still on dial-up at that time.
Oh my god.
I know, dude. Like this is the thing. Back at where I'm from, in the southwest of England, it's like the Shire. Like, and I don't mean that in like a nice way. I mean that technology just kind of stopped halfway and just died. The wheel was good enough. You know what I mean?
We'll have to talk more about Southwest England later. But yeah, I mean, it provides you all these tools to where distance becomes less of an issue, and you don't have to coordinate 6 people coming to a physical location all at the same time. That's nice, that's fun, but it's not the only way to play D&D.
But how many campaigns are you running at the moment? Because you must have like loads going, or do you keep focused just to a few? Because I imagine that balancing this many ideas going on all at once, and then working on crafting adventures to sell through the Dungeons and Dragons like actual platform.
Yep.
There's a lot. There must be a lot going up in that noggin, man.
Yes. So I actually only run one campaign, and that's actually over lunch every Wednesday at Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
And there's folks from the Magic team and folks from the D&D team, and we sit down, and that's actually set in Ravnica.
Oh,
so
nice.
the Guildmaster's Guide of Ravnica.
That's amazing.
That's the kind of the basis for what that campaign is based off of. And then I play in 2 different campaigns, one on the weekends and another one at a different lunch hour.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a way to stay it's a way to stay connected with what we're doing and interact with the material that it helps you understand it better as a player. So when you're helping to design it and kind of put it all together, you have kind of one top-level overview, but actually playing it really helps ground you in what makes a better experience.
Yeah. I mean, when you're actually like designing an adventure from the ground up, do you have to sort of take into account all of the canonical stuff that's happened in and outside of that? Or do you choose a fixed place in time? Because I know obviously that Descent is a prelude to the new Baldur's Gate game that's coming out. So it's like, do you have to, when you're starting an adventure, when you're picking a moment in time, are you like, okay, I have to be careful because this happened in somebody else's thing, or do you it's completely separate?
I believe firmly it should be whatever your party, whatever that group wants it to be. Like if your party wants to be, all right, we're going to adhere to the canon that has occurred in this series of novels, fine. As a DM, that can be very challenging.
Because you basically are then stuck to almost scripture in that sense.
Yep. Or you can sit down with your party and say, hey, this is the direction I wanted to go in. What do you got? Like, make it a participatory thing. So don't be super rigid about how you're putting it together. But take input from your party, and if you don't want it to be canon, make your own canon.
Do you find it like when you're in parties where you're not actually like DMing? Do you backseat DM at all, or like, because I mean, I've heard some people do get a little bit like you used the word before, precious about it, where it's just kind of like, well, that's not how I would have done it, sort of thing.
So I will do that in my head, but I do not want to disrupt kind of the flow of play. So I will keep those thoughts to myself.
Fair enough.
The only time I would say anything regarding how the adventure is going is if it's gone in a direction that's kind of inappropriate or uncomfortable.
Fair enough.
Then it's, then you have an obligation to speak up and say, time out.
Let's drop the characters and let's actually have a little chat.
Exactly.
We actually have a show on WhatCulture Gaming which details sort of the interesting lore and the meanings behind like enemies and creatures in video games. Now, obviously, being so well versed with all of the lore, do you have like a specific favorite enemy or D&D lore that you would like to share with people as a good example of why they should play it?
So, I'm not trying to pimp Avernus and Baldur's Gate, but when I discovered D&D at a bookstore when I was 8 years old. It was the AD&D Monster Manual.
Right.
And I had no idea what it was, but I opened it, and there were all these really cool pencil drawings of monsters. I'm an 8-year-old boy. Monsters were my jam.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what it was, but it was absolutely fascinating. And the things that captivated me the most were the things that my very religious parents were most upset about.
Oh, really?
Which would be devils and demons.
Oh.
So that immediately I was like, this is the most fascinating thing ever. So when I actually came on board at Wizards while this book was kind of halfway through production.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see it come out because Adam Lee and Chris Perkins and Ari Levitch, Kate Welch, all the folks that were working on that book, the ideas that they were putting together to make this happen, I was like, I wish I was 13 again so that I could be 13-year-old me jamming my way through this. It would be amazing. So I love like extraplanar entities of like that kind of transcend the human understanding of evil, like they personify evil. I think that's great. And for me, more evocative than like, oh, I'm a bandit. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have a lot of fun with that. But for me, I really like the kind of otherworldly, like an extra planar
almost like
threads.
Cosmic horror style stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, because I know you must play other like RPG stuff outside of this as well.
Yeah.
What's on your sort of table at the moment?
Other stuff that I've been playing recently, Call of Cthulhu.
That's why, I thought I overheard that you're a big fan.
I am a big fan of Cthulhu. Some other games that I play, the new Pinnacle, the Savage Rifts.
Right, okay.
Because that's, like, they've really honed down and focused, I think, on what makes Rifts amazing, which is magic and technology and the post-apocalypse. It's like chocolate and peanut butter. Those things are great. So Savage Rifts, Call of Cthulhu, and that Dungeon World.
Okay,
Dungeon World's a lot of fun. And those would be the three that I've been focusing on the most outside of D&D.
Honestly, how you find the time to do all of this and create adventures?
I don't sleep a lot.
Yeah, I tend to find that most of the heavily creative types do that.
Because it's basically go to work and then actually most nights after I come home from work, I'm writing on stuff
Yeah.
that I didn't have time to do at work.
It must be so satisfying, though, when you finally get like the adventure out, it's printed, it's out there, and it's received as well as it is. Because I imagine like it's a lot of stress as well. You must have to think of things that normal people wouldn't even be comprehending.
And like in addition to the creative process of putting it all together, the logistical process of getting everything ready to actually go to the printer and become a real boy, like to become a product that everybody can interact with, is nerve-wracking. I've had the privilege of working with a gentleman named Dan Tovar,
Right.
Who's been kind of my friend and my mentor at Wizards of the Coast as a producer. He came from a video game background,
Okay.
and has been enormously helpful in helping me kind of understand the ups and downs of the industry. Also, understanding what our graphic designers do, who we have in Trish Yoakum and Emi Tanji, probably two of the most talented graphic designers I've ever met in my entire life. And seeing how what's done creatively, how that interacts, what they have to do practically and artistically to make everything come together. So what you see is like not only you read it and it's evocative, but it's beautiful and it jumps off the page and you're like I must play this.
Yeah.
And it is enormously satisfying to see the book in front of someone and have them go, oh my God, this is so much fun. And then they tell you a story about what to me, kind of the essence of D&D is those shared stories. Like we all have our own way that we'll tell the story, but in the end, everyone has their fun story about when the fighter chopped the dude's head off, or when the rogue screwed something up and the chandelier fell on his head. Like everybody has that kind of a thing. And even though we might not know each other particularly well, or there might be a kind of a cultural difference, we can still bond
over the stories that.
Exactly.
For example, my one of my well-known stories, I've had an unusually bad run with D&D, not because of who I've been playing with, it's just that I always manage to get myself into situations that I really shouldn't be. For example, my very first character was a gnome bard who died because of the fact that he thought it'd be a great idea during a bar fight, which said broken out, to try and stomp on someone's neck to try and finish them off, and then didn't realize that that was actually the captain of the guard, and so I just got absolutely thrown into jail, and my friends couldn't rescue me, so my DM was just like, well, we're kind of having to move on with the plot, and you're not going to get it out anytime soon. So I was like, sick, great. But still, it's those things that they're character building in a literal sense and taking you forward. You must have one character above all that you've played that always sticks in your mind. I
do. I have a dwarf cleric that I've made in every iteration of D&D since 3rd.
Wow.
It was Grath Stonebreaker.
Yep.
And he's kind of, I wanted to go with I wanted him to be a dwarfy dwarf, if that makes any sense.
Big, hard.
That like caring but gruff at the same time, worships Moradin, likes to make things, likes to drink.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of Gimli going on with him. But a lot of dwarves in general, I really enjoy. I don't know why, but they speak to me.
And that's the best thing about this, is that no matter what, like you were saying before, like your background, there is always going to be a character that you can create, that sort of avatar that you can project into the world that allows people to just live out pure fantasy, but with a reality of friends around you.
Yes.
And again, I just want to say thank you for all of the work you've been putting in as well, because honestly, like taking adventures, taking ideas, manifesting them into ways that younger people can start getting into the game with. Older returning people like that have lapsed can come back in and be like, what's going on here? There's a standalone sort of thing for this. It must be, like I said before, one of the most satisfying jobs.
It is tremendously satisfying. Before I came to D&D, I was in the military, and I worked in healthcare. Both of those things rewarding, but very kind of mentally and emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
D&D's hard work. It's like putting the book together is effort, and it can be strenuous at times, but it is rewarding in a way unlike anything that I've done before, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
The best thing is that there's always more adventures, more stories to tell. Mm-hmm. Are you working on anything at the moment that might be a little bit of a secret-y thing?
I'm actually, right now, I'm very focused on 2021.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
2021 and the back half of 2020, we have some, obviously I can't talk about them yet.
That's absolutely fine.
But We have some really, really, like, products I'm really excited about coming out next year.
Amazing.
That I can't wait for people to see and play.
But that's good. I mean, your excitement shows no bounds, and it's so great as well. You did an amazing job on the live game yesterday as well, because I heard that was your first time streaming.
That was so I've been on streams as a player. I have never streamed as a DM before.
Was it stressful? Like,
oh my God. So not only was it like, oh, here's this, in what I thought was a fantastic touch, we're going to go to hell inside this cathedral. So that was cool. Mildly blasphemous, which is kind of my jam.
Yeah.
But so that was a little stressful. And then there were some folks there who I had never played with before.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that obviously trying to make sure that I've got the, like, where their head's at, like what
Yeah.
they want to do. And then Joe Manganiello, who's who's a movie star who I've had an occasion to meet once or twice in passing, but I was like, all right, well, I don't want to make the horse's ass out of myself in front of Joe and all these other people, so I try to keep it light and fun and popping.
You and me both, man. I'm interviewing him later, and I'm bricking it because I'm just like...
He's super nice.
I've heard, and I saw that yesterday. He just seems like the nicest person around.
Yeah. And he loves D&D.
Yeah, I know.
A lot.
Yeah.
So, and he's, again, a fantastic guy and a great player.
But the thing is I think that everyone who I get the chance, yourself included, love D&D from their very soul, and it definitely shows. But Bill, thank you so much for your time, for taking out. And honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and getting to chat about this in more detail. But yeah, for all more D&D stuff here at Lucca 2019, stay tuned for WhatCulture Gaming. My name is Jules. You can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. And Bill, where can people follow you?
People can follow me at Bill Benham 2 on Twitter. I don't know who Bill Benham and Bill Benham 1 are, but when I find them, they're done. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me. Yeah, Bill Benham 2 on Twitter.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.